Okay. Good afternoon, class. So today, we will talk about affective assessment. So tapos na natin about performance assessment. Proceed naman tayo sa affective assessment. So I hope you are ready to listen. You can get your notebook and your ball pen para makapag-take down notes kayo while you are listening sa ating PowerPoint presentation or sa video presentation. Ayan. Proceed na tayo. Okay, so I have here some questions and answers of students. Sabi dito, where was the American Declaration of Independence signed? At the bottom daw yung sagot. What is the highest frequency notes that a human can register? Oh, wow, Mariah Carey daw. Yung boses niya daw. Yung highest niya, the whistle. Okay, let's proceed sa other slide. So we have also this one. The man can run. Tama naman. Next. The man pet the dog. Tapos ano pa? The fox ran. Ayos naman yun. You should not hit dogs kung ano mo din because of the pictures. The picture, not pictures. Okay. Another one. Sa isang math test. Bob has 36 candy bars. He eats 29. What does he have now? Diabetes. Bob has diabetes. So, parang ano lang siya literal. Diba? Sinagot ko ano talaga yung mangyayari. Okay, let's take another example. Okay, we have here right or. Kung ano naman ngamin. Siyempre, no kasi ngamin ti outline na DJ question or direction. Han nga maawatan ng estudyante. So, as much as possible, note natin yung proper words nito. Baka hindi nila alam, di ba? Right less than or greater than. Kung inanseran than or. Okay. Another one. The boy is A. Sad. B. Glad. Tapos, naglagay ng other option. Ugly. The boy is ugly. Okay. So, ano ba yung mga ibig sabihin ng mga to? Ayan yung papag-usapan natin. What do we want to learn from this discussion? Okay, so for this discussion, we will know the concepts about affective assessment, the advantages of using affective assessment, and of course, the limitations of using affective assessment. Aside from that, we will also develop good assessment tools using approaches in affective assessment. Okay, so today we are going to discuss concepts, uses, how to, and tools and approaches of affective assessment. So unahin muna natin yung concepts ng affective assessment. We have here yung concepts of assessment. So what do we mean by affective assessment? What are those things, terminologies associated with affective assessment? And how are we going to conduct the guidelines, the format, the principles, and so on that is associated with affective assessment? So those are the things that we will discuss through this presentation. So let us start first by answering these questions. What is affective assessment and why do we need to assess affective domain, right? So think about your answer to the following questions. How do you feel doing mathematics? And what do you like in mathematics? Now, if you notice, if ever we will answer these questions, we have different responses, right? Some may like the subject, or for the majority, the feeling might be an opposite. So if we deal with measurement of feelings or attitude or interests, we are into affective assessment. right? Emotion. So that is about affective assessment. The affective domain class from the Latin affectus, it means feelings. That's why it includes a host of constructs such as attitudes and mga ugali. We have values, beliefs, opinions, interests, and motivation. So they are the non-cognitive since emotions yung mga yan, hindi naman siya about the brains or about knowledge or what. So non-cognitive outcomes of learning that are not easily seen or explicitly demonstrated. Okay? The type of assessment in this domain is not aimed to determine what the students have learned since hindi naman siya cognitive based kundi affective based naman, emotions naman, ba? Rather, it looks into how students feel while they are learning, ba? Their moods, tinitignan, their emotions, their motivations, their yung mga mukha nila, yun yung mga tinitignan natin. How their learning experiences have influenced their emotions and future behavior. So yun pala, yun yung gamit ng affective assessment. Since kasi kapag cognitive assessment, yung tinitignan lang natin dito is the knowledge of the students. So ngayon, kapag cognitive assessment, hindi mo naman malalaman kung ano yung feelings nila towards the assessment, right? Or yung motivation nila towards the assessment, their behavior, their attitudes. So hindi natin alam. That's why it is important that since we are dealing with the holistic development of the student, that's why we have also the affective assessment to know or to understand the behavior, the feelings, and the emotions of our students. And that is very critical for a teacher to at least do it in his or her class. Now we have here key illustrations about cognitive, physical, or the psychomotor, and even the affective. So we have here yung heart. So this is the affective, which involves feelings. We have also dito thinking, di ba? Which involves cognitive, the thoughts. And then we have also here the settings sa cellphone. We have the physical, which is actions. So take note of the key concepts related dito sa mga topics natin. Okay? Teaching is not only imparting content knowledge that requires cognition. That is not the only role of a teacher. Diba? Hindi lang yung pagtuturo. It is also knowing and understanding students as learners and humans. Okay, we are not, it is not only expected of us, teachers, to let our students learn, but it is also inevitable, tama ba yung words ko? It is also true that we have also to understand yung mga students natin. Therefore, it is essential that teachers know the feelings of pleasure, enjoyment, or even anxiety that learners experience because this will have bearing on their attitude, motivation, and beliefs that will eventually be manifested in their future behavior. So very critical talaga yung trabaho ng isang teacher. Diba? Sa loob ng classroom, you are dealing with a lot of students. And imagine yung function mo na hindi ka lang magtuturo, hindi ka lang yung mag-i-impart ng knowledge sa estudyante mo, but it is also expected of you na dapat naiintindihan mo. Diba? Naiintindihan mo sila, you are on their shoes, you feel them, and then hindi lang yung alam mo kung ano yung feeling nila, but you're able also to motivate them to learn, diba? Understanding their feelings. So very, ang dami mong trabaho as a teacher. And of course, by knowing and by understanding your students, you're able to bring out the best in them. You can bring out the best in your topic and you can even bring out the best in you. Diba? Kasi as a teacher, there are a lot of stimulus, diba? Where you are going to react. And one thing is yung behavior ng estudyante mo. How you are able to manage their behavior is also a critical thing na trabaho ng isang teacher. And if ever alam mo paano mag-manage, then ibig sabihin you are a good and effective teacher also. So very critical na at least you can evaluate, you can assess. Kasi iba lang naman yung teacher na passive, di ba? Yung tawag dito, yung walang pakialam sa estudyante niya. May mga ganun kasing teachers. But there are also those teachers who will involve themselves, di ba? Dug down deep sa feelings ng isang estudyante. But that is a leisure, di ba, of a teacher na konti lang yung trabaho. But for those teachers na marami yung trabaho, that is not a leisure for them. Kasi nga, di ba, you have to deal with a lot of things. So, it is a good thing if you have the time. Okay. So, yan yung sinasabi ng affective domain. So, we are not only imparting content knowledge, but it is also important for the teacher to at least know, understand yung kanyang mga estudyante. Assessment on the affective domain is not only on the part of teachers to know information about students. It's not only about knowing who your students are, their circumstances, their backgrounds. It is also useful for students themselves kasi baka hindi sila aware, 'di ba, sa mga ugali nila. So, mirroring kumbaga. And then self-awareness of feelings, emotions, and attitudes can make students reflect on how they are in the process of learning. Parang Johari's window, di ba? May alam yung ibang tao sa'yo na hindi mo alam sa sarili mo. May alam ka sa sarili mo na hindi alam ng ibang tao. So parang ganun. And at some point, there are cases na baka hindi ka aware sa mga behaviors mo, and that will be made known through others. Okay? That's why it's a good thing also na aware, di ba? Affective assessment does not determine the grades the students get. So, hindi yan naka-align sa grades na makukuha ng estudyante. Gaano man kasira yung behavior ng bata, kasano man kasulpong na, okay? Hindi dapat na i-involve yung grade, okay, ng bata. There are students na pasaway pero magaling naman, di ba, sa klase, sa written works. So, it's not proportional the behavior or tawag dito, the behavior of the students uh, is not proportionate doon sa it's not proportionate sa grade nila. Okay? Depende na lang siguro kung sa dot, di ba, JOB. But hindi naman siya generalized concept. It might be for some people, but it's not a generalized concept. That's why affective assessment does not determine the grades the students get kasi hindi mo naman ini-include sa grading sheet ang affective assessment kasi this involves emotions lang naman, di ba? Understanding a student, alangan namang magre-grade ka dyan. Walang grade dyan. Okay? Walang score, kung baga. Let's proceed on the advantages of affective assessment. So, affection over cognition, communication lines, improvement by motivation, influence of future behaviors. So what I like to highlight here sa mga sa apat na advantages ng affective assessment is this one, improvement by motivation. So if ever you know the moods of your students, their emotions, di ba? Kung alam mo, if you really understood them, then it is also one way para maging effective ka sa teacher. Kung nakikita mo na naboboard na yung estudyante mo, then create a way para hindi sila mabore sa klase mo. Kung nakikita mo naman na-excite yung mga estudyante mo, then go over sa lesson. So it's one way of improving your teaching instruction. Okay, it's not only by way of motivation, but you're also improving yung instruction mo. Diba? Kasi kapag motivated yung estudyante mo, mas natututo yung mga yan. So it's a good thing if the teacher knows how to assess yung emotions and behavior ng estudyante. Nakikita mo naman yan sa mga mata ng estudyante mo. Kung nabuboring sila, naiirita sila sa'yo, so you can see it in their eyes. Wow. And then if ever you know how to evaluate it, and then create a way para ma-motivate yung estudyante mo. Create a way para mas maging may energy pa ang klase mo. That's why it is also expected to the teachers na kailangan maging joker rin sila sometimes, di ba? Ang laki ng expectations talaga sa mga teachers. Okay, maging joker sila, di ba? Nagpapatawa sa klase para at least ma-excite lang yung class, yung mga estudyante para at least hindi sila mabore sa mga teachers nila. Okay, so yan yung gusto ko ring i-highlight dito as part. Kasi nga sa ating mga teachers, very critical yan eh. Na kaya mong kunin yung attention ng estudyante mo. And one way is, of course, by understanding them, their behaviors. Okay, kung may advantages ang affective assessment, of course, meron rin siyang limit. So dito, we have here, can't measure personality. Ayan, hindi naman porket you're able to understand them, parang para lang siyang kwan. Tawag natin iceberg na yung sa taas parang kwan lang at face value parang alam mo pero meron palang mas deeper pa. Okay? So can't measure personality. Personality is a big picture. Okay? It just not you cannot define it by face value alone. And then another is must be valid and reliable. Okay, next, results examined carefully, conclusions must be solid, and of course must be relevant. So that is effective assessment. Okay, it should be valid and reliable. So yung syempre yung mga gagamitin mong questionnaire to validate their behaviors should be valid and reliable. Baka naman ikaw lang yung gumawa, hindi mo man na napavalidate sa mga experts, it should be valid and reliable. Okay? So, most especially, yung mga concerned dito is yung mga guidance counselors natin or yung mga guidance designate na teachers natin. Okay? Now, we will involve with the taxonomy of affective domain in learning. So, parang familiar tayo dito sa Bloom's taxonomy, di ba? The cognitive domain. So, dito naman is affective domain. Can you still remember yung cognitive domain natin? Di ba? We have remembering, understanding, analysis, applying, evaluating, creating. Meron na yata akong mention. So, meron din tayong affective domain in learning. So, in the assessment of cognitive domain, you have used the revised Bloom's taxonomy of cognitive processes. In the affective domain of learning, Krathwohl et al. 1964 developed a taxonomy of affective qualities that can serve as guide in doing effective assessment. If siguro kung if we are to differentiate yung affective and cognitive natin, since yung cognitive involves yung thought process, the knowledge uh, base ng estudyante natin. Sa affective naman is more on feelings, emotions ng estudyante, behavior. So, and kapag mapapansin rin natin sa tawag dito, sa cognitive domain, di ba may mga levels sila, na level, meron yung pinakamababa and then up to pinakamataas. And how about affective domain? Di ba? Paano yung may level rin ba? So, yun yung papag-usapan naman natin for taxonomy of affective domain in learning. Now, we have 5 levels siguro yung mga yan. Ewan ko na kung level yan. So, yung una dito is to receive. O, level siguro. Number 2 is to respond. Number 3 to value. Number 4 to organize. And number 5 to characterize. So, ano naman kaya yung mga ito? So, yun yung papag-usapan natin. Okay, so let's start first sa domain na to receive. So in this level of affective behavior, the learner demonstrates an awareness in an activity that is happening such that he or she gives attention to that activity. So ibig sabihin, yung hina-highlight lang natin dito is that aware yung estudyante sa nangyayari sa paligid niya. Okay? Alam niya kung ano nangyayari. So this level involves willingness to receive the stimulus. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na stimulus and response theory, di ba? So stimulus is something that comes from the environment. Okay? Factors. So for example, looking at the teacher during lecture is an awareness on a learning stimulus. But listening and paying attention indicate willingness in receiving the stimulus. Okay? So, take note yung domain na to. It's about receiving. So, let's take note dito sa ating example. Ang sabi dito, looking at the teacher. So, kapag titignan mo si teacher, okay, it's a way na aware ka, di ba, sa nangyayari. Kasi nagla-lecture siya. But take note, listening and paying attention indicate willingness in receiving the stimulus. What is your reaction ba, towards that stimulus? So yung stimulus dito nagtuturo si teacher. Your response is you listen and you pay attention. So that is to receive na part ng domain. Okay? Being aware, like for example, nagka-klase, you are aware na may klase, and as a response, ano yung ginawa mo? You pay attention and you listen. That is the domain. So parang stimulus and response theory lang itong to receive na domain ng affective. Okay, proceed tayo sa second one. So dito sa number 2 is to respond. So kung kanina, rin-receive mo, di ba? You receive the information, the stimulus. Di ba? You are aware na nagle-lessons teacher. So dito naman sa to respond, the learner reacts to a given stimulus. So parang ito na yung response na part. Stimulus and response theory. Oh my God. Ayan. So the learner reacts to a given stimulus or information that has been received. So if a learner participates in a class discussion and not merely listening, then the learner is in this level of behavior. So yung hindi na lang siya nakikinig, kundi nagre-react na rin, meron na ring action, di ba? Nakikipag-debate na, nakikiparticipate na sa class discussion, so under response na action. So this behavior may be compliance to a given task, voluntary engagement, or doing an activity with interest. So kung babalikan natin kanina, sa to receive, so parang ano ka lang nag-absorb ka lang ng information. And before you absorb an information, dapat aware ka sa nangyayari sa surrounding mo. So yun yung sinasabi ng to receive, di ba? You're absorbing information from the time that you are aware of what's happening in your environment. Sa to respond naman is, by the time na na-receive mo yung information, what then is your reaction? So dito, is you are already participating. Okay, meron ng action na related. So that is under response. Next, we have to value. So this is the level where the learner demonstrates commitment to the object, knowledge, or activity. Here, the learner has internalized a specific specific values such such that these values are manifested through overt behaviors. For example, picking up litters outside the classroom without teacher's presence or saving money for a book or putting up lights after class on collision are valuing behavior. So parang ito naman is more on tawag dito. So kung kanina we have to receive, you absorb as you are aware of the environment. And then yung sumunod is to respond, taking actions doon sa stimulus. Dito naman sa to value is mas deeper naman na to. Di ba? Aside from taking action doon sa napakinggan mo, you are applying it sa buhay mo. Di ba? Yung values na nag-gain mo. So it's not only about learning how to do good things, but doing the good things itself. Wow. Ano yun? Saan nang galing yun? Okay. So valuing ang tawag natin doon. So parang hindi na lang yan yung by anong tawag ulit natin noon? Um, yung quotation na yun ulit. Do your words. Parang ganun ba? Act your words. Parang ganun. Kasi beyond response na kasi yung to value eh. When you say to value, so ibig sabihin, you are acting on your words. Kasi like for example, kanina, nag-receive ka lang. Let's say yung topic is about helping old people. So sa level ng affective domain na to receive, nag-gain ka lang ng information about how to value good people, how to help old people. Sa response ay sa response naman, okay, you are now interacting with teacher on the good things about helping or about on the things related to helping old people. So sa part naman ng to value is that you are already applying it in real life. Okay? So yun naman yung indication dito na nasa value level ka na. Hindi ka na lang nandun sa receiving or sa respond, but nasa value part ka na, wherein you are already applying that gained knowledge. Okay, another is to organize. So this is the level where the learner has internalized and integrated his or her feelings, emotions, beliefs, opinions, and etc., resulting to actions where new values and traits emerge. So in this level, the learner is able to discern independently the right from wrong, and he or she is able to make a decision on what is more valuable based on his or her own judgment. So yan na yung ability to discern things. Like for example, the ability to know what is right and what is evil. Di ba? So yan naman so under sa organize. So, alam mo na kung ano yung tama at saka kung mali. By knowing kung ano yung tama and mali, you can now create your own judgment. Yan. So may mga cases kasi na yung mga estudyante natin, hindi nila alam kung ano yung tama at saka mali. Depending siguro kung ano yung mga sitwasyon. Like for example, sa no, kung magkikinabilda, so ang alam nila is it's good if makabalis ka, di ba? But the truth is, hindi. That's why hindi pa sila nandyan sa level na yan. Siguro nandun sila sa level na to value. Kasi 'di ba, from sa mga cases na 'yan yung tinuturo kasi minsan sa mga bahay or mga kaibigan na kapag sinaktan ka, saktan mo rin, parang gano'n. So, nando'n sila sa part ng to value, in-apply nila sa real life. Pero dito sa part ng to organize, this is just the ability to know na kung ano yung tama at saka mali, and then create a judgment regarding doon. So if ever, kung ayan, kung alam ng bata na mali yung ginawa niya, so nandyan yung to organize. Kung mali yung apart na yun, so nasa to organize na siya. Siguro dito sa to organize, parang nasa level ka lang na alam mo kung ano yung tama at saka mali. Okay? Making judgment. Okay, so yung last na domain natin is to characterize. In this level of affective trait, the learner demonstrates his or her beliefs and attitudes not only in a single event or situation but in multiple events, showing consistency of the behavior that establishes an image or character of the learner. So, ibig sabihin, when it comes to sa level na to, you are consistently doing that kind of act. Okay, yung action na yun. So if you consistently doing it, that becomes now the characteristics or your character. So the behavior extends beyond the school setting and becomes part of his or her lifestyle. For example, if doing an experiment has instilled the values of patience, such as trait could be carried over to the student's non-science activities. So magiging patient na siya all throughout. So in all activities na ginagawa niya, not only certain activities, kapag natutunan niya maging pasensyoso or pasensyosa, then that becomes his or her character. Kaya nga meron silang sinasabi before that your thoughts become your words, diba? Your words becomes your actions becomes your habit, and then your habit becomes your character. So if you keep on doing that certain thing, magiging practice mo yan, magiging part na ng buhay mo, ng lifestyle mo, then magiging character mo na yan. Okay? So, yun naman yung under characterization. So, kung kanina, so let's have, yung una kanina is to receive. Yung pangalawa is to respond. Number 3 is to organize. Number 4 is to characterize. Di ba may panglima pa tayo? So, ano yun? Okay, let's proceed. Okay, so yung isa kanina is to value. Okay, ulitin natin. So, we have to receive, to respond, to value, to organize, and yung last is to characterize. Now, aside from the taxonomy of affective domain, we have also the variables, affective variables in learning. So as mentioned earlier, a number of variables can be investigated using affective assessment. So ano ba yung mga tinitignan natin when it comes to affective assessment. Basically, these are attitudes, okay? Pwedeng yung ugali nila. We have also beliefs, yung paniniwala, interest, motivation, and even self-confidence. So these are the some variables related to affective. Okay. Now let's start dito sa attitudes. So this is the most talk about affective factor in a student's learning. Yan, palaging niyang sinasabi or pagkasati ugali, di ba? Attitudes. We always deal with attitudes of our students. Kaya nga most talk about under affective. So we always talk about attitude towards something. Your attitudes towards the class, your attitude towards your fellow classmates, your attitude towards your parents, towards anything. Okay, so this means we are referring to a person's reaction, whether negative or positive yan, favorable or unfavorable toward an object, an activity, a person, or environment. So these are all attitudes, whether it is positive or negative, or favorable or unfavorable. So these are all attitudes, part of a human. Okay. In teaching, this will be concerned with the attitude towards learning, subject teachers, classmates, homeworks, and projects. Whether maganda yung turing sa panapagawa mo o hindi. So those are attitudes. Right? Kasi hindi naman lahat, we cannot please everyone. Okay, most especially that we are involved with a lot of people. We are always doing things that is good, but it might be different, okay, sa perspective ng ibang tao. So those are all attitudes. So under education yan, so yan, for example, napagawa ka ng assignment, it could be na ayos para sa iba na may assignment, they are willing. Meron rin yung mga iba na naiirita kasi ang dami mo na palang nagbigay na assignment. Or yung iba naman walang pakialam. So those are all attitudes, the reactions towards a certain stimulus. Okay? It could also be attributed to wearing of uniforms. Ayan. So kung maayos magdala, siguro mabuting tao yan, malinis siya, or whatsoever. Yung punctual siya sa attendance, so hindi nag-absent, ay magaling na bata yan. So it refers, okay, it generates or it roots to their attitudes. Okay, aside from the attitude na one of the variables of effective learning, we have also values and beliefs. So values are characteristics or traits that a person holds in high importance. So this include principles that one considers to be right and consequently which guides the person's future actions and decisions. So if you notice, parang yung values and beliefs parang parehas lang, di ba? Pero when it comes to values, this is something that you believe in. Okay, parang kumbaga prinsipyo mo sa buhay. Like for example, you want to live however you want. Kung yan yung prinsipyo mo, kaya ginagawa mo lahat ng gusto mo, kahit masama siguro or mabuti, di ba? Kung yan yung prinsipyo mo, like for example, maging easy go lucky, if that is your principle. Yeah, parang um, gumagawa ka ng requirements, maayos man o hindi, or kung mataas man or mababa yung grade mo, you prefer yung mataas, although hindi ka naman nag-effort, mga ganun. And then, and so on and so forth. So, parang ito yung prinsipyo mo. Or like, for example, beyond the dark clouds, there's the sun still shining. Like, for example, even if you are facing a lot of challenges, a lot of problems, you know at the end, right? At the end, you will still receive success. You will still be successful. So if that is your principle na kahit anumang mangyari sa buhay, marami ka mang problema, kung yun yung prinsipyo mo, feeling mo matatapos at matatapos yun. So that is something that guides you, ba? That guides you, that you hold in high importance, na talagang parte ng buhay. So that is the values. And aside from values, we have also beliefs. Beliefs, on the other hand, refer to our convictions or opinions we hold to be true even without evidence. So parang related siya sa religion, kumbaga, di ba? About believing in God, that there is truly a God even if you cannot touch Him, even if you don't know Him, It's just that you have that what you call as faith, then yan yung tinatawag natin na belief. You are believing, you're having a faith without even parang without parang disregarding yung ating tawag dito, yung na nahahawakan mo siya or nakikita mo siya. Kasi yung principle, yung paniniwala or yung belief ng mga tao is to see is to believe, di ba? Kung nakita ko, then pinaniniwalaan ko. But for belief dito, it attributes to something na kahit walang ebidensya, okay? Kahit walang, ayan, like for example kay God, kahit hindi mo siya nakikita or hindi siya nagpakita sa'yo, then if you keep on believing, keep on trusting, keep on having that faith, then attributed siya sa belief. Okay? So naniniwala ka kahit walang ebidensya. Like for example, pagmamahal. Yan, na-relate kayo dyan sa pagmamahal. Di ba? Parang mahal mo siya kahit man hindi niya sinasabi. Ayun. So there are such things as belief about mathematics also, about freedom, about gender equality. Like for example, sa math, there is a belief that math can describe everything. Well, science is whatever yung mga pinaniniwala nila about science and mathematics, about freedom. So as long as you keep on believing, even though there is no evidence towards it or there's no even evidence about it, then that is under belief. Okay, nice one. Proceed tayo sa next part. Another variable class is interest. Interest is a psychological state, so state of the mind that draws a person's attention to an object, idea, or event. So it is something that um, attracts your attention. So in a classroom setting, it is what students are into. Gusto nila, di ba? Or the learner's disposition about a topic such as reading, science, mathematics, or history. Parang ito ba yung, yung gustong-gusto ng mga bata. There are students na gusto ang math, their interest is about numbers. May mga iba rin na gusto yung speaking, di ba? Magaling mag-debate, mag-question. So, ano ba yung interest? Sa inyo, ano yung interest ninyo? Okay, baka pagbabasa ng book? Yan ba yung interest ninyo? Or ano? Okay, so as long as it connects to the brain, connects to the mind, something that you are into, something that attracts you, okay? You are having an interest with, so under interest yan na variable. So under affective pa rin yan. Take note, emotions pa rin ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, feelings. That's why yung topic natin is ganyan. Another class is motivation. According to Brown 1987, he defines hindi ko alam kung babae o lalaki, or he or she defines motivation as an inner drive. Ayan, parang nandun sa loob mo, a fire within you. Okay, an impulse, an emotion, or a desire that moves one to a particular action. So it arouses and sustains behavior. It can lead to increased effort and energy to pursue a goal. So if you are motivated, you are being energized to do something, to do more, di ba? So meron kang energy. So if a learner is highly motivated, he or she is willing to give his or her time and effort to reach a goal. So if you are really motivated to pass the class, so ginagawa mo yung best mo, ginawa mo lahat, nag-effort ka, nag-attend ka sa classes, you are highly motivated. So under siya sa affective variable in learning. Diba? That's why it's very critical for the teacher to motivate yung mga estudyante niya para at least at the end of the day, at the end of the course, makakapasa yung mga estudyante. Another class is yung tinatawag natin na self-confidence. So this refers to how a person feels about his or her abilities to accomplish a task or reach a goal. Okay? It is the person's perception of himself or herself and his or her capabilities to perform successfully the task given to him or her. So that is self-confidence about what you think, diba? About yourself, person's perception of self, yung ability mo to accomplish a task, how confident are you to finish it. So attributed yan sa self-confidence. And take note class, ang sabi dito, Empirical studies showed self-confidence is associated with academic success. So if you succeed, if there are cases wherein you always succeed in doing a certain task or in doing something, parang nabibuild rin yung confidence mo. Parang mas nagiging confident ka. So as low as parang proportionate siya eh. If you have a lot of success, then you have a lot of confidence. Why? Because you've already experienced it and it builds up. It builds you up. Okay? It makes you more confident. Kasi nga, di ba? You're already you've succeeded something. You know the experience. You know the pressure. You know the things na associated sa isang bagay. Then you become accustomed to it, and then mas nagiging confident ka kasi alam mo kung ano yung possible na mangyayari. And those are the variables related to affective learning. Now, since alam na natin kung ano yung mga variables under affective learning, paano naman natin sila i-measure, di ba? Paano natin i-measure yung yung mga yun? Yung mga parang yung mga values na yun is something related to the students, ha? Okay, like for example, their motivation, their interests, their self-confidence. So about the students pa rin palagi, di ba? Yun. And then now, how are we going then to measure yung affective learning ng mga bata? Okay? So may mga possible tayong mga instrument na possible na pwedeng gamitin. Ang una diyan is self-report questionnaires. So this is a type of assessment where the respondent is asked to answer a question about himself or herself, his or her behavior, emotions, feelings, or views. So tanong, kaya tinawag na self-report about sa'yo. Self-report inventories use a variety of formats. The most common are presented in the following. So possible na yung format ng ating self-report questionnaire, it is a Likert scale. Possible rin yung semantic differential from difficult to easy. Yan yung pinapakita niya. And then, how easy, how difficult, parang ganun. And then for checklist naman, we have yung 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so I'll be introducing sa inyo some certain examples regarding sa mga Likert scale, semantic differential, and checklist sa next na lesson natin. Another assessment tool class is the interview. So this is an oral assessment, so questioning. Ikaw yung meron ng siguro interviewer, and kaya interview. May tinatanong na sa'yo, hindi na lang ikaw parang nagbabasa, ina-assess ang sarili mo, pero for this one, merong nagtatanong. So this is an oral assessment of student learning that is conducted through spoken words and casual conversation. This assessment tool allows the teacher to collect and explore in-depth information about the trait being assessed that cannot be captured by written instrument nor even be observed. Kasi nga sa written instrument, hindi naman tinitignan yung reactions, the way they speak, di ba, their mannerisms, di mo naman nakikita kapag written instrument. But for interview, nakikita mo yung mga yun. And you can also include that, di ba? Kasi nga even sa research, we have yung thematic analysis, their reactions, the way they tawag dito, let loose a word. Paano nila bitawan yung mga salita. Ang hirap i-English. Okay, so pati yung mga yan tinitignan din kasi natin sa interview. Okay, so that's it. Under interview. Another class is yung tinatawag natin na student journals. So these are effective tools that can be used in assessing and monitoring student thinking and attitudes. Journal writing gives students guided opportunities to think aloud kasi nga sinusulat nila kung ano yung nasa isip nila. Okay? Through writing, they are inputting, like for example, siguro sa journal writing is diaries. And then it is a special form of documentation that records personal experiences, and that's why it is called as student journal. Okay? And last na ba to? Hindi pa ata. Ang last na yata. And the last assessment tool is observation. So, kung kanina we have questionnaire, we have also yung checklist. We have also interviews and journals. And last, we have yung observation. Ano ba yung pagkakaiba ng interview at saka ng observation? So observation is an assessment tool that involves looking out for the presence or absence of behaviors of learners in a natural setting. Observation allows the teacher to assess the student behaviors in the actual teaching and learning process, unlike other forms of assessment that require separate time with the students to answer the measuring instrument. When it comes to observation, there is actually no interaction if I am not mistaken. Kasi you are just observing, looking out doon sa mga estudyante mo. There is no specific interaction kasi nga observation. Diba? So that's it. That ends our lesson class. I hope you learned one or two or three or four about sa lesson natin regarding affective assessment. So next meeting, I'll be introducing to you different templates, formats under assessment tools. Of course, in regards to affective assessment. Thank you, class, and God bless.